This is week 5 video review, the top 5 things you need to know for a political landscape class. The first thing you need to know is, in order to understand true storytelling, you gotta understand that there's a lot of ways of telling a story. The perfect analogy is the Fresnel lens, and how the Fresnel lens is very complex. But with the lens, there's a lot of different ways you can spin it and view it and interpret it. And like our classmate idea of the complexity of interpretation. This is very key because, as we're slowly learning how to uh, understand the different storytellers and the different people's purposive discourse, you have to understand that treat it like a Fresnel lens instead of just a little disco light where you're almost being like a horse with blinders on. Instead, you want to be understanding everything with a different perspective. Second point is tied in with our third point, and it's about the example of the printing press and how the one side of the story we've heard so far is how it's revolutionized the world and allows us to read the same books as the Lords. But going back from our first point, you got to understand there's a different side of the printing press, and there's actually multiple sides depending how you want to spin it. And the one side we should know is that the printing press allowed 15th and 16th century serfs to read and learn and understand that they can perform or create their own opinions. And if you didn't tell, and this is huge because if you didn't tell the correct particular settings about the printing press or gave a different ideology or view on it, you can alter the complete context of the story, and you can also alter the different meaning of the printing press to different to a future different time and event. And pretty much, to break it down, it really just means that you have to be sophisticating your storytelling, especially when you extrapolate it, because each story can be viewed or twisted with the words in different ways, where someone can just view it in a complete different light. And you also understand that there's all different perspectives of each story. There could be, like an example, there could be the man's side of the story, the woman's side of the story, the child's side of the story. There's a little infant side of the story. Or there could then be a political side of the story. And that's the main thing that you gotta understand, is that there's a lot of different ways to read and interpret each contextual and the complexity of the interpretation of a story. A fourth thing is complex storytelling tells a story, or sorry, a good complex storyteller tells a story of what they want to share. But what we're slowly learning in this class is to be able to read between the lines and understand what the author's true purposive discourse and how is it really a narrative project. And our last main fifth point that you should know about this week 5 class is that the really most important byproduct of the printing press was the intellectual and cultural development, which is what we call now the Enlightenment. And this is huge because it really taught people back then. They had the capacity to universally critique information, and you can really use reasoning to advance yourself and access universal truths. And this kind of was also integral and massive in our life, because this kind of spun or started the wheels of the origin of science, Newton, and the advancement of people of understanding. And this also is tied into this week's text for tomorrow's class about how Grimsky, kind of displayed the same thinking, in the sense that he displayed, citizens can use reason and not faith-based to make judgments, and for people to read the text for themselves. And the main thing I'll leave on this is that we have the capacity of human reasoning to make judgments and make our own assessments on our own. That is a huge thing.